Hi, everyone. It's Kim. Thanks for joining me and Happy New Year. As we start the new year, many of us are setting up our calendars, whether that be an electronic calendar or a paper calendar. And I want to make one today, but I want to do one that's a little different than one we normally see. I want to work on a perpetual calendar, one that we can use year after year. And they're a little different. It's not one really to record anything on, but rather to refer to for the date and the day of the week for whatever month we're in. So I have a few vintage perpetual calendars here, and you can see they come in different sizes, definitely different containers, but they all work the same. And that's what I want to focus on today. So we're going to be making one. Won't be as fancy of a container as these, but these still work today just the way they worked when they first came out. So let me move these out of the way. And I'm going to show you first the calendar that we're going to work on and how this works if you're not familiar with it. So on a perpetual calendar, we need to have a set of dates where the first starts for each day of the week. So let me run through this and show you what I mean. So on this one, I have the first starting on a Monday, and I'm going to flip this over, and now I have the first starting on a Tuesday. Let's see if I have these in order here. Probably not. Here we go. So this one then, the first starts on a Wednesday. Flip it over, and now the first starts on a Thursday. And then we'll flip this one over. The first starts on a Friday. The first starts on a Saturday. And then the last one I have is the first starts on a Sunday. And there's nothing on the back of this because we've covered all 7 days of the week. The other thing I want you to notice is every month has 31 days, irregardless of the day of the week. So we have to make these all with 31 days. It's up to us to know how many days there really are in a week, but we're basing this on the day of the week, not the month of a particular year. So that's the important thing to remember. Now, there is one little thing we're going to cover when we talk about some of these dates and the different ways we can do this. So we'll cover that here in just a second. But let me show you the months and how those work. And let's see here. Maybe I should get these into the month order. So we have 3 cards, and we're going to put 4 months on each card. So we've got January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December. So let's just say it's April. We'll say that the first of the month falls on a Monday. So when we're setting up our calendar for whatever year, doesn't matter the year, but if on whatever year we're in, April 1st falls on a Monday, this would be our calendar. Let's say we're looking at a date in September, and now the first of the month falls on Saturday. So then we would have this arrangement of our cards, September with the first falling on a Saturday. So that's why we can flip these over and use it with every month, whatever day of the week starts on the first of whatever calendar day. So that's why this is perpetual. We can use it forever. Let's talk about how we can make these. What different ways that we have out there. One is with stamps, and this is not a new concept. I have several stamp sets that are just like this that have the first starting on Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, then it has the days of the week. And a lot of them also have the month included. Paper Rose has this brand new stamp set out that you can get through Spellbinders that have basically what I have done here in a stamp version. So you may already have something like this. I know I did not go through and pull mine out that look just exactly like this. I have several different kinds. So I guess the point is see what you've got in your stash and know that there still are these stamps available. Here's an old one from Basic Gray, and they do theirs a little different. If I flip this over, you can see how they have a grid that moves along this grouping of numbers, a set of numbers, but they always start with the first and end with the 31st, no matter what month we're doing. And this one does include the months. Now, the one that we just looked at from Paper Rose that is available through Spellbinders, they have a separate stamp set with the months. So maybe you just need the dates and you have something like this that you could use the months. That's totally fine. Here's another one from Bo Bunny. This is a really old stamp, and it just has basically the grid for the calendar. If I had teeny tiny numbers, I could do that, or I could just stamp this out and handwrite in, because I'm only going to do this 7 times for each day of the week. But I also have the months here, so this is still very useful to me, even if I just want to use the months. Another option you have is to set up a grid on the computer and print it off the computer. And then that way, that would be really quick and easy once you've got your grid set up. And I know there's calendar templates out there as well. What we're going to do today is use the new press plates from Spellbinders for the Better Press. When I saw this, I was like, okay, now is the time I'm going to make my Perpetual calendar. And that's what I used for these. Now, there's something I need to clarify, though, on this. Better Press or Spellbinders made this for the year of 2025 only. So we're going to take a look at that. I only need basically 7 sets of numbers, with the first starting on every day of the week. But this set has 11 plates. So that tells you something right there. It's got more plates than what we really need. And that is because they designed this to be for the year of 2025 only. And so when I look through this, I went back and marked all of these for which day of the week this is and how many days in that month. So I've got the first starts on Saturday with 30 days. This is Wednesday with 31, Monday with 30, Saturday with 31. And I did that through all of these. The reason being, and I'll share you how I did this fairly easily. When I sit here and look at these numbers, I'm like, okay, this is a great example. The first is on the end. Well, is that Saturday or Sunday? And it's because these are basically backwards. They look different from when they're printed. It took me forever to try to figure this out, so I'm going to share that with you. But here was my dilemma. When I look at this, because it is only for 1 year, I have for every day of the week a set of numbers that have 30 days and a set of numbers that have 31 days, except for Sunday. I only have 1 plate and it's only for 30 days. And I know I'm going to need Sunday with what starts on the 1st with 31 days. So we're going to talk about what I did to remedy that. But I want to show you first, when you look at this, I don't know about you, but this is like all backwards to me. So I'm trying to figure out how I can know, is this the Saturday, Sunday in an easy fashion. So there is a little plate that has Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So I set that down and I went through these one by one, lined up the numbers underneath the days of the week, and then I could see that this was for Saturday. Now, I will be honest, this is a challenge for my mind sometimes, so I always had to sit and think, okay, what's the day that comes before Monday? I knew that was Monday, Sunday. What comes after Friday, Saturday? So more than once, I had to sit there and ask myself that question so I could make sure I get the Saturday and Sunday dates correct. Once I realized this is, okay, Saturday, it has 30 days. That's what I wrote on the back, Saturday, 30 days. And then I went on and did the next one. And these were in no particular order here. I lined it up. There's the first under Wednesday. So this is Wednesday, and it has 31 days, 31 days. So when I actually got to printing these out, I could flip this over, and it made it so much easier than trying to figure these out one by one each time. So let me show you what this is supposed to look like, because they're just doing it for the year 2025, and then we're going to talk about how we can make it work for a perpetual calendar like this. So this is what they have, and the number sets are down here. Now, we will talk about how how to prevent some little oopsies that I made. I forgot to put Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday on this one, but you could still see how this works with the small month and then the year 2025. And then there's a coordinating set, of course, where the flowers come from, and then they have a larger month press plate. And that's what I used for my calendar, but I just want to show you where they come from. So they've got these dies. Here's December. Here's the big month that I used. This time I did remember to put Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Believe in the Magic is from something totally different. So all of these sets have, like, March has daffodil there. It has the press plate for the name of the flower. I opted to do something different here. But this is where I got the big months from rather than this teeny tiny one, because the 2025 is attached to that. And I did not want the year attached. I just need the month, and I like the bigger month in the smaller month. If I only wanted to invest in this press plate, then I would need to maybe find a stamp set or print it off the computer to make my months on my separate card. So I don't have to worry about putting this on with the numbers, because it's going to be on a separate card. So I do have some options there. So we're going to look at pressing these here in just a second. The other thing we need to consider is the container. We're going to talk about the container second, because I want to go through how to do this first, how to lay it out, but know that we do need to have in mind what container we're going to use, so we know what the width is for our individual cards. And the other thing is, I needed something to hold these cards in. So I have this little raised part here, and I do need to take that into consideration when I letterpress all these out, because I don't want to have my numbers say at the bottom. Let's pretend like my numbers are at the bottom. I'll flip this upside down. I don't want my numbers so close to the bottom that I can't see them. So that's why I need to at least have in mind how tall, and I will be the one that determines the height here. But I need to kind of think, ooh, how tall am I going to make that? And I think that's about a ½ inch, I think, is what I did. I didn't want it too tall. Let's see, I actually have a ruler here. Oh, no, it's about 7/8. I take that back. It's about 7/8 inch. So you could make it a little shorter if you wanted. But let me show you how I set this up if we want to letterpress. And it takes a few minutes, I'll be honest, to set it up. But once you get it set up, that's when you want to just run as many off as you want, because that will take you no time to do. So I left all my little tapes markings on here just to show you how I did this. So after I knew what my size was of my piece of paper, I wanted to give myself a way to line this up easily so that my top platen matched my base platen. And I used these lines on both top platen and the base one here, the magnetic plate, and went from there. Now, one thing I did first on my platen here is I press this top down to the bottom, because my bottom one on the clear plate is a little lower than the line on the magnetic plate. And I need to take that into consideration. That's probably about 1/8 of an inch difference. So I thought, I'm going to line all my plates up with this. So I'm going to put my tape, and I'm going to put it up just about 1/8 of an inch higher. And then I found the side here, and I marked it on the clear plate, because I want to just be able to lay my piece of paper that I'm going to letterpress in there, tape it down, and then when I line everything up here, I know everything is lined up. So that's why I have all this tape, and it may look kind of funny, but it really made the process go faster. I also needed to know what the width of my calendar is going to be. So I did measure this. I measured this, and then I measured it out here and put a piece of tape. Now this one's a little wider than the first one I made, so I could lay this down here and then just put my tape to the edge here. And then this is the height of the card that I use. So the first one I made came to this height. And now since then I've made some a little higher, but this gives me the area where I can put my letterpress plates. I also put one down here, even though I have this line, and one on the side, even though I have this line, because I have a couple of boo-boos, and I'll share some of those with you. You can see where I have the numbers down here because I had the plate too low. Even though I've got this line, I had the plate too low. So this made it easier for me to visually see this is the area I can put the plates. If I'm over any of these pieces of tape, I'm going to be off whatever I have over here. So to set one up, let's just do that first. I'm going to start with first one that has 31 days. So here's Wednesday with 31 days. I'm going to lay that down. And I also want to mention that Spellbinders does have a video to how to make this calendar. So if you want to make something like this, they have a great video. And even though my calendar is different, mine isn't just an annual calendar for this year, it is a perpetual one. I still should have watched this video because I could have saved myself a little grief. So I'm going to lay this down. I did measure side to side here. And the other thing is I'm like, okay, this is 7/8 of an inch. I need to have this bottom up at least 7/8 of an inch. So I took my ruler. So whatever if you need to account for something like this, figure it out. I'll give myself an inch, let's say. And I'm going to lay this down here. And then I did measure side to side, so it's even. I'm just going to eyeball it right now, but I did measure that. So start with the numbers. Then I started with Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Don't forget that. You do need that. And this is the one that will be staying on the plate here. And I'm not going to do my month because my month is a separate card. All I need are the dates and the day of the week across the top. The first thing I want to do is mark this so I can remember how I had this thing lined up. So I have a distress marker, any water-based marker, because you could see I need to clean my plates up a little bit, but the archival ink stain, so, I'm not going to get upset about this, but I want to know that I'm putting the bottom of this here, and one of these is longer than the other. I think this one is not it. So you may have to make a few adjustments. Just kind of know you might have to cheat. Bring it up a little, bring it down just a tad bit just to make it fit where you need. And this I'm going to mark here too. And this isn't quite on a line, but I'm going to mark that. Then I'm going to mark the side here. And I'm going to mark the side up here. And the reason I'm doing that is because when I ink this up, this may move a little bit. So that's another thing you'll learn real quick. Ink it up. Check to make sure it's lined up the way you want. And your fingernail, I use the tweezers or a little pokey tool. And that helps line it up because this will shift when you ink it because you're kind of, twisting your ink pad a little bit. The other thing I learned is do this on a scrap piece of paper first rather than one of your good pieces of paper that you're making your calendar out of. That will save you a number of headaches. So once I get this done, let me find my little clear platen here. I'm going to ink this up. I'm going to straighten it out if it's moved. I would have this ready to go. Let me just tuck my piece of paper in, and it would be black, or we'll do it this way. It'll be blank on this side. And this is why I put the tape here, because I can easily just pop that in place, line it up. It's inked up. Put my top platen on, run this through my die cut machine. And then when I take this off, I've got it printed perfectly. I've got that space on the bottom. It's lined up. Had I forgotten, say, the Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, I would see that. And I'm like, oh, I need to put that on because obviously I forgot it on this one. So that is how I can do the days of the week. And I'm basically going to do the same thing for the month. And I'm going to use the big month. Let's just grab one of those. Here's January. We'll grab that. Before we do the month, let's talk about this. Let's say I want to make 5 of these calendars as gifts. I want to print all these off. I took all that time to set this up. Have your paper ready, because here's where it goes really fast. I do one and I put a clean sheet of paper on here, ink it up, make sure it's lined up, run it through. However many calendars you're making, have the paper ready to go, and then just do, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and you're set to go. Then we're actually, before we do the month, we're going to go to the next date. So let me find another one with 31. This is Saturday. You can go in order. You can just pull them off this however you want to do it. But you can see how quickly, actually, I need to line this. This is the one that's longer. I can see that. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to split the difference. So Saturday is the one with the kind of extra line in it. I don't want to go too far off my paper here. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to just lay this down here and make sure this still prints on top of my sheet of paper. Have 5 sheets ready to go, ink it up, run it through 5 times, and then I'm ready to go to the next week. Or not the next day, I should say, not the next week. Thursday. And again, I did these in order, but you can do it however you want. But I've got that little line there. I know I need to set it down there. I'm going to pull this back down because now all of these are going to be the same size template. If you have stamps, you don't have to worry about all this. But if you're doing the letterpress, I love the look, but it does take a little time to set up, I'll be honest. And come with some patience when you do this. So now I'm going to ink it up, run it through 5 times, move on to the next date. So I'm going to do that until I have all days of the week done. Let me leave that there. So once I get to the last one, I've done my 7th weekday. I'm ready to do my months. So I'm going to pull out, since I have the larger month plates, I'm going to pull that out. And this is just going to get me started to where to place it. I'll need to adjust it, but I know it has to be at least above Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. So now I'm going to pull this off because I won't need this anymore. And I'm going to do the same process that I did for the dates of the week. I'm going to measure. I will already have my paper cut. So I know this is my numbers. I'm going to cut a piece of paper and with amount extended above it. So I have some idea how tall that's going to be. And I can make this as tall as I want, just as long as I can get this in there and I've got a little space underneath there. So I will probably measure this. That was the fastest way. Say 2 1/4 inches. I can come up here and do 2 1/4. I need to bump that up maybe ever so slightly, just a little bit. Ever so slightly, 2 1/4 inches. Again, I'm going to make a mark, and I just need to know where the base of it is. Don't get confused with those marks because each month is a different width. So all I need to do is that. And then I think I pretty much, I found the center here, and then I could count in the letters, and that kind of helped me center it. You could measure it on the sides, whatever you're comfortable with. And then I did the same process. I just tucked this piece of paper in here. Ink that up. Again, it's going to move, so use your tweezers, your fingers, your poker tool, and line that back up on that line so it's straight. Do a test run with a scrap of paper. Put this down, run it through, and then when you pull it off, this will have been printed, and you'll see that, yes, it's straight, yes, it's centered, and this is the other test. Yes, it's above all my dates there. So make sure those are all lined up and it's above your dates. Then we need to run it through 5 times or however many calendars you're making. And then we're going to pull off February. We're going to put February down. You need to make sure that when you print this, that it's turned around. So now January is going to be upside down because we're printing at the top. And we're going to ink that up. Say it says February, run it through 5 times, and just continue on. But make sure that these months, one is the top one, you can read it correctly. The bottom one is upside down because when we put this in our calendar, we need to turn this around. If we have this right side up, when we put it on our calendar, it's going to be upside down. So bear that in mind. Again, check, check, check. I always go back and check this with my little sample, or if I have the real thing done, I check it with the real thing at that point in time. The other thing that we have to deal with, because there's only 30 days for Sunday, is we need to put a 31st day in. And that was the thing that almost stopped me from being able to do this. So I have one here printed. This August in this set only goes, excuse me, let me take that back. Sunday, which is the 1st, there's only one plate for Sunday with the 1st, and that only goes to 30 days. And we need 31 because August is the perfect example to say that month has 31 days. So here is what I did. I took a month, it doesn't matter which set, as long as it has 31 days, and I just printed it off on the side of the card because I'm going to punch this out and I'm going to put it into this one. And let me show you what it's going to look like here at the end. And I didn't point this out to you, and you'd really have to look. So here's Sunday on the 1st, and that 31 is a date that I added because the plate doesn't have it, as we can see here. So this is what I did. I took and made a little dot because I need some, I want to get it in the right spot. So I just kind of lined up where the center of that 31 would be, and I made just a little dot, enough so that when I punch it, I want to be as accurate as possible. I got my hole punch. This is what I have. You get what you have. I used a 3/16 of a hole, and I can line a 31 up inside that hole and punch. And I'm going to do the same thing on this. Now, I'm going to go back, if I don't lose this first, and show you this 31. This is the one where I did not put anything on the back, and I did that intentionally. So if I really mess this up and I need to print this again, I only have to print one side, the Sunday where it starts on the 1st. I don't have to have Monday on the back of it. So that's why I did Sunday the 1st with just by itself. So now I'm going to go to this one. And this is the one where I want to try to, since it's all ready to go, be super accurate. I'm going to line up that little dot. I'm not doing it blind, and I'm going to punch that. And now I'm going to go back and I'm going to insert this 31. And I may have to kind of flatten this because my punch kind of curls it, but I can take my time. In fact, I think, well, let's see here. I could put it in from the back side too. And then I would get something just to press that down in there. I want that nice and smooth. That's why you may want to put it in from the back. Your choice. Just play with it a little bit. And then on the back side, I just put just a tad bit of glue and I spread it out because I don't want it to be real noticeable. But then I know that will hold that little dot in, that little 31 in place, and it won't pop out on its own over time. So that is how I can have 31 days for the Sunday that starts on the 1st. One other thing we're going to do with this, and then we're going to talk about how we're going to decorate these. That's going to be our twist, and that's what's fun. So I went ahead and did all of this with, let's see, what month was this? This was for the month of August for the poppy. So let's say I want to add something to this in a different color. So I printed this off when I was doing the calendars. Then I went back, I did the poppy. So I want to add this little poppy, but I want to make sure I get it, say I want it there on the left side of the flower. And trust me, it doesn't take much to confuse me on this, where then I'm like, oh, if I just kind of guess where to put it down, I can assure you I'll be guessing wrong. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to take this. I'm going to put this back in here because this is what I'm going to print on. And I'm going to take this poppy and I'm going to lay it face down because that's how it would print. I could do this, but why not do it the way it's going to print? And I just am going to hang on to that for a minute. And I'm going to lay this down and I'm going to let that poppy just flop to the magnetic plate. It may not be totally perfect to match this. Like I couldn't ink this up and run it through again, but this is going to tell me pretty much where it's located so that I can put the name of the stamp wherever I decide to do it. This will give me an idea of where it's located. Otherwise, I can guarantee you I'd probably put Poppy over here and I'd be printing on my actual flower. If it's on the right side of your base, it's going to print on the left side of your paper. And yet, when I look at this, it's just a challenge for my little brain. So I'm going to leave Poppy there. Let me ink that up. And I've got it lined up on that line, so it will be straight. And I guess if you do make a mistake on some of these and, it just doesn't come out right, it is only paper. Bear that in mind. It isn't, the end of the world, although I realize you have to redo it. I'm going to wipe up that extra ink. And you can see how that poppy is shifted, so I'm going to line that back up on that line. All right. Let's hope I did that right. Otherwise, I'll be showing you how to do it wrong. So let's run this through our die cut machine. And take a look. Okay, yes, that's where it came. That's where I wanted it. So that's why I put that flower plate back on. Let it grab to the magnetic plate. And then, make sure you take it off. You don't want another imprint into your paper. So, that's how we do our calendar. And I know you may think, oh, that's a lot of work. But once you get this set up, you can just run these through. You can make so many of them so fast. And once you get the first initial block of numbers set up and then the calendar or the month of the year, it actually goes pretty fast. You could do a lot of these. The initial time to set up, yes, it does take a little time. So let's talk about what makes these fun to make. And I'm going to talk about containers here in just a minute, but I want to do this. I want to decorate this, and this is the fun part. So I'm going to just show you one, and then we'll do the whole year. I can put something behind that and decorate the top of this, and I can make this piece as big as I want, and I've got options here too. I can do like I do the months. One on the top, one on the bottom. I can flip it over, do the same thing on the back. Or we're going to look at some where I just did it on one side. Totally up to you what you want to do. Pick whatever theme you want. I did this kind of with the months, but you can do whatever you want. If say you're making it for a guy who likes cars and you've got a bunch of like car stamps even, pull those out and make it. It doesn't have to necessarily go with like a snowman for January. I could do anything. I could do flowers for January. So that's my January. I'll flip it over. I'll change all this to February. And I would pick out obviously the right date sheet that goes with that. But this gives you an idea how this works. So there's February, and I'll be looking at that. Then I'll pick out March. I didn't do an Easter one specifically because Easter could be, either month, and I thought I'll just keep it more generic. So springtime, I could use that for March. I could use that for March. But let me show you. I'll tell you what I used for these real quick. because most everything I have is fairly recent. So for the snowman, that is from Simon Says. This was their free giveaway in for December, but Tim created this, so I decided I'd use the snowman for January. February for my hearts is from one of Tim's vault dies. This is Love Notes. One thing I did try to do is not to build it up too much. I was pretty good at the beginning, at the end, not too good. For the umbrella, I figured I think I would use this for March. Rain or Shine. This is an older die set, but all these pieces were on here. The cat is from the Spellbinders 2024 Advent Calendar. So I don't have the dies to show you because they don't come in a packaging like this, but that's very new from the Advent Calendar. Then for the months of we're at May, June, July, and August. Any of these could work. These are all spring related, and everything, all of these come from the Advent calendar. So if you haven't seen it, you can get a little peek here. The leaf is something different, but I needed something to kind of jazz up my lemonade glass here. The leaf, there's a bunch of these out there. Mine is from Paper Rose. This is called Tropical Leaves. But again, I've seen these leaves on a lot of different sets from different companies. And then finally for September, I made my bookworm because I figured we're going back to school. That's Karen Burniston's bookworm. For October, and people who know me are going to be shocked that I didn't do something Halloween. But trust me, I've got Halloween on the back of my mind for another calendar. But I love this little scarecrow, and this is from a pretty old set from Spellbinders called Scarecrow. I love the corn, and I think that's probably why I had to use that one. For November, I did do a turkey. This is using the Infinite Doodle set from Sizzix, and Pete Hughes designed this. Pete had done a turkey. I have a picture of it. It's probably double the size. So it was too big for this, but I just found kind of the same type of dies in that set and just made a miniature turkey. And then the leaves and the acorn are from Tim's Vault set from last year, the Vault foliage wreath. And finally, I just did more of a generic image for December. You can make this more specific to Christmas, Hanukkah, whatever holiday you would celebrate, but I just did the dancing penguin just to make it more winter-like rather than a specific holiday, and yet it fits in the month of December. So I would just put these in the back, and I'm ready to go. And then switch them out as you want. Now, maybe you don't want to do a die cut, so let me show you another one. And actually, this one fits in this holder. So this time I used some stamps. Same thing, I had my cards all ready to go, and I made these just a little taller you can see here, to accommodate my stamp. This is for me. I love these snarky people. I can use whichever one my mood is in for whatever month. I don't have one that's just for January, just for February, and I can do one on the back. I used fairly heavy watercolor paper to make mine because I knew this is going to, the letter presses into the paper. Now, if I'm stamping, I could just use some nice cardstock. But I knew I was going to have an impression, and I didn't want the impression from one side to show on the other side. So that's why I used fairly heavy-duty watercolor paper. And then when I did watercolor on it, I didn't use so much water that it seeped through. And I'm not the best watercolorist, but this is for me. It's fun. I like it. It'll bring a smile to my face, and I can move those around as I need. One other thought that you could do if you have this open on the bottom, and I just made this one using the the Spellbinders flowers, but if you have a journal stamp with lines, you could stamp that down here. I don't have one of those, so I just drew in my lines, and then I put dates that I want to remember for the month of June. I did stamp June down here, even though I would probably have the month of June here. These are going to get moved around, so I thought, for my own benefit, I'm stamping the month, and then I'll make sure I get the right dates on that month. And then nobody can see that, but I can pull it out and look if I need to send a card or a gift or something. So you can do whatever. You have total creative freedom, however you want to decorate it. So let's talk about containers real quick because that is an important aspect. And you've got a lot of freedom when it comes to containers as well. Oh, let me show you in case you're interested in the stamps. These are from All and Create. And to be honest, I don't remember where I purchased these. I got them online. So just put, if you're interested in this, All and Create, Google that, and you can see who sells, what company sells these online, and then take a look at all the ladies or whatever other stamps they have. They have a whole collection of these snarky ladies. So I'll have to be adding to this group here. But let's talk about containers. And this is the first one I made. So these are a little different size you can see here. This is the first one I made. And this is how I started with it. No dies, nothing fancy. I had this box from those little drink packets and I opened this up. I flattened it out and I just kind of thought, well, okay, I think I made this. Let's see which one this is. This is 7/8 as well. So I just drew my lines, and when I first did this was about an inch wide at the side. But then after I had these cards together and I was kind of holding them in there, I'm like, ooh, that's a little wide. So I cut this down and both sides, glued it together. And once I finally finished fiddling around with it, and this did take me a little time, but it's just a box, so it was no big deal. If I blew it, I could get another one out. And I put these in here to make sure they fit and the width was right. Then I took this, traced it on a piece of cardstock so I had a nicer pattern. And so this is what I can just trace around to make my box, score it, I'm ready to go. And then I just covered it with some paper. So is it as perfect as if I had a die cut? Probably not, but it works. And this one I think is sized to hold this group of cards. Let's see, I've got 3 sets going here. Let me make sure I've got the right set so we can at least see what it looks like when it's done. Here, these are the cards. These are just, barely a 1/4 inch less. So then I thought, you know what, I'm going to go look through my stash and see if I can find a die that I can alter in some way and make them quicker. If I can die cut it, at least start with a die cut and make it quicker. I'm going to do that. So I went through my stash and I did find several dies that I could use, but this is the one I settled on from Dare to Be Artsy. It's their purse gift holder die. And again, if you don't have this, that's fine. Look through what you have or look through your recycling and find a box you can cut up. But this is the die. It's one piece. And I've got my back here. I've got my front. And I've got the little side. So I thought, I'm not going to waste all this paper. I want, say, 7/8 of an inch here. So I laid it down on my cardstock. I even marked the bottom so I could reference that and die cut it out. Say die cut this much out. So I've got my little front band here, and then I can just put it together with the flaps on the side to the back and cut my paper out and decorate it. If you have a die that has just like the bottom of a box, that would work as well because you've got the sides. You only need to leave it the end on one side, cut off the top, the other end, and then you can cut down the sides as however you want. And then you could cut a piece of paper and just put it over the front here, maybe a little flap, however you want to design that. But I can't encourage you enough to shop your stash if you want something like this. Now, Spellbinders does have something that we could use that goes with this collection, and that is an easel, because they designed this for that calendar that they designed. So I did make a couple of those, and that works as well. So here is the easel that I made, and it holds all of these cards. If we were to do this, and mine are a little different size and height, but it holds that calendar up. So you could put the 12 sheets there. That's what they designed that for. Now, I could do the same with all of mine. Let's see, where's my ladies? I could do the same thing here and do this. And if you don't want to, purchase a die for the easel, if you go to wherever and just get a little easel, that would work as well. But I don't like this because I have all these little cards. For me personally, I like to have them contained like this. Now, when you have this, how do you display this? So there's a couple things that we can do with that. I have this business card holder, and I know I have a clear one, but this way you can see it. I could just lay this in here, and it holds it nicely up on my desk at an angle so I can see it, nice and sturdy. I can also use the easel, but I did make a little adjustment on the easel because, this is a little thicker. So I basically die cut the easel, and then I cut out a little bit here. So I finally determined I did this without the stop, and then I'm like, ooh, I kind of need that stop. So I would just cut along here. Let me just take this. I would cut along here and up. Get the pin to right here. I would just cut this out. And do that before you put the whole thing together. My pin doesn't like the slick paper here. But I would just cut that little bit out. And then I have a little stop there so that I can put my container that I made in there. And it's not going to slide out. So there's a bunch of different options for you. I know this may seem like, oh, that's a lot of work. But you don't have to do it with letterpress. You can do it with the stamps. That would definitely speed some time up for you because you don't have so much work to lay it out. But once you get things laid out, you can just crank these out and then you've got them ready to go. And you don't have to use them all at once. They would be great gifts. And then you can personalize them. This is the fun part, is to personalize them for either yourself or who you're giving them to. And it's a gift that will continue to work for years. There's no expiration date on these. So if you have hung in with me through this whole tutorial, thank you very, very much. I hope I've given you some inspiration to maybe try it. Remember, it's only paper. So if you do make a mistake, it's easy to cut another piece and reprint or restamp, however you're doing it. So thanks for joining me today, and I'll see you again in a future video.